of a blessing in disguise, like we were talking about earlier. I think that the schedule that we had to finish out was kind of worried me from the beginning of this season. This team is, I've never really been confident in who we are. Some nights we come out as a really strong team, and some nights not so strong. Either be it defensively or whoever's in net, or I mean, there was just all season long there's question marks. So I think we still have these question marks going into the playoff bracket that we're going to go into. Thankfully we're in, but is this team going to be able to pull together kind of another miraculous win, or string of wins like we did last year? Or, are we going to be able to go on, or are we just going to, fizzle out in the first round? And I think it's still a big question mark for me for sure. I mean, we get Dougie back, but Dougie Hamilton, but that's going to be a big thing for us. But still, I mean, like I said, just even with him playing, he was hot this year, but even with him on the ice, it was still some question marks defensively, even sometimes that you could kind of ping on him too. So for me, it's a big question mark on how they're going to do, but I'm still super excited that we're going to be able to see it either way.
Absolutely. And Bruce Barrett, you're next, my friend. Are you excited the NHL is back? And what are you expecting out of these playoff format, since they're going to surpass or kind of bypass the regular season going into, and the Carolina Hurricanes are sitting, I believe, at the 6th spot in their division. So that means by rule and by on paper, I love stats. If you know anything about me, I love stats and I love things on paper because one, you can't disprove as something that's a actual factual statement. You can't disprove
Numbers
it.
Don't
So,
lie.
exactly right. So on paper, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be making the playoffs. What are you expecting out of the Carolina Hurricanes this year?
Well, from what I understand, the Hurricane, and I will say this, Dougie Hamilton coming back, that is a huge, huge deal. Yeah. And a lot of folks also need to realize that James Reimer, the goalie, is expected to be available also. And Reimer just was really rolling until he had that lower body injury. And the way it looks like right now is it looks like, Carolina's at number 6. They would play, according to NHL.com, they would be playing the number 11 New York Rangers. The New York Rangers. The Hurricanes with 81 points on the season at 38, 25, and 5. The Rangers are 37, 28, and 5 with 79 points. But head-to-head, the New York Rangers are 4-0 against the Hurricanes so far this season. The Rangers beat the Hurricanes 4-2 on November 7th. On November 27th, they beat them 3-2. December 27th, it was 5-2, the Rangers. And February 21st, the Rangers 5, Hurricanes 2. So, they're going to be going up against a team that has fared very well against a pretty good Hurricane team.
Now, to kind of piggyback what you just said about the 4-0 against the Carolina Hurricanes, they always say it's so hard to beat a team either 3 times. In this case, it's hard to beat a team 5 different times in a row, especially in an atmosphere that Carolina Hurricanes and Carolina fans, if we get some home games, and I don't think it's going to get home games this year, but if by chance we can get our North Carolina people and around this area to go to these games, the Caniacs, if you ever go to a hockey match, it is outstanding. Man, it is crazy. I went to the playoff game against the New Jersey Devils, going on some years. It feels like 100 years ago now, but just the atmosphere inside of the stadium here in Raleigh is just PNC is just outstanding. So it's so hard to beat a team 5 different times. In this case, 5 different times, because now this team is ready. Now everybody now is on the same playing field as everybody. Literally everybody. Out of all NHL teams, they're on the same playing level. And so moving forward, Brandon White, what is your thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes going into the playoffs format?
Well, it's funny you say that everyone is on a even playing level right now because, if memory serves me correctly, the Carolina Hurricanes are known for getting strong starts to their season. They had a strong one, I believe, in last year. They had a very strong start this year. This really could make the Hurricanes a potential threat for the Stanley Cup if they're able to come out and get a burst of momentum right at the start of the playoffs. Now, we don't know who they're going to be up against yet. I think they're going to be going up against the Florida Panthers if I read everything correctly. But I mean, the Hurricanes, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen here. I know home games are not going to happen with the way things currently are, but they're going to be a team to watch out for, especially with Dougie Hamilton back on defense. Him being gone is one of the main reasons why the Hurricanes struggled so bad during that second half before the pandemic. Hamilton is such a vital part of that defense, and that also, may I remind you, lost Brett Pesce during the David Ayers game when Mrazek and Reimer both went out, and Pesce was lost for the year in that game too. So that was a badly wounded team when the break happened, and now they're getting most of those pieces back except for Brett Pesce. So this could be a really good team going into this crucial stretch here. And but everybody's going to be on the same page, and there's 23 other hungry teams as well. So I think we're going to be in for the most unpredictable playoffs in Stanley Cup history.
Doesn't that concept to me is beautiful, and I don't use that word very often in sports wise, but that concept to me, where everybody's the same playing field, if you played good enough to get to the playoffs at that certain point when everything that went down, you're now, no matter what, you're guaranteed to be in the playoffs, and you're on the same playing field. I think that has a makings of a magical situation for the Carolina Hurricanes. Last year, we weren't expected to beat Washington. One of our star players went up against Ovechkin and got his butt kicked.
Got destroyed.
But apparently it worked, because all of a sudden they went on just a thunderstorm against Washington. So it worked. Yeah. He did get his butt kicked. He was out for the rest of the first series, but it worked. And now everybody, either you had enough time, your star players are coming back, they're going to be healthy, just like what Bruce mentioned. The goal is going to be ready to rock and roll. We're not going to use the Zamboni play or rider anymore, so that's a good thing. So moving forward, I'm excited. It's another sport that literally, if you have not been a fan of NHL, just like myself, for example, I wasn't a fan of auto racing, and NASCAR.
Audio racing? Is that what you just called it?
I think so. Auto. And I'm telling you, it's a good time to be a Carolina Hurricanes fan, because you now have something to root for. But we're going to take a quick little break. In our next segment, kind of in the show, we have two different things. One, we're going to talk about the basketball league. If you follow everything that we have going on here at CRN, we are part of the basketball league at the Raleigh Firebirds. We're the only official broadcast network that does home and away, which away is all across the country. There's a brand new team out of Syracuse, out of New York, called the Syracuse Stallions. They were a part of the ABA last year, American Basketball Association. They were tearing up the ABA program, 19-2 before everything went down. They had the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. They were, just a year ago, they were the region champions and a spot in the Final Four. So they had everything going for them. Everything went down. They were beating teams, and I'm not even kidding you, by 50-plus points. They were destroying everybody. Now, they're going up against competition in the basketball league, obviously the Raleigh Firebirds, the Indy Express, the Columbus, Dayton, teams out of New Jersey, out of New York. And we're gonna hear an audio, a recorded kind of a clip from the brand new Syracuse Stallions, who Brian Burns, he is the part owner of the Stallions and the assistant GM. So it's a great interview, which is going to come out for the Basketball League podcast here shortly. So when we come back from break, we're kind of going to listen to that audio for you, introduce you to Mr. Brian Burns for just a second, and then we'll get into the Basketball League discussion. Again, this is the roundtable discussion right here on the CRN Sports Podcast.
Looking for a life insurance company that specializes in what you actually need? Protection. Call Danny today with Symmetry Financial. Danny is certified in all 50 states, which means Symmetry Financial is not limited and has over 30 companies to choose from. Symmetry Financial has proved time and time again that their options and pricing is just better than the rest. Give Danny a call today at 828-994-1681 to see how Symmetry Financial can make life simple.
Unforgettables. Nice. This show is sponsored by Unforgettables. Unforgettables creates detailed hand-painted baseballs for every baseball fan. Check them out at unforgettables.com.
This is CRN, the Community Radio Network, the voice of the community, the voice of anything sports, and proud to be the voice of the Comets. Follow us at crnsports.org. Now let's get back to the broadcast coverage on CRN.
And welcome back to the roundtable discussion right here on the CRN Sports podcast platform, part of the CRN Sports Network. I am Trey Schneid, Daniel Moore, Bruce Barrett, and Brandon White on the call this evening. And thank you so much for tuning in this evening. It's about 9:25 here on a Tuesday evening. Hope you're enjoyed as much as we are. A little NHL talk, a little auto racing talk of the NASCAR. And now we're going to listen to a quick little clip from Brian Burns, who is he's part owner of the brand new team out of the basketball league, the Syracuse Stallions, but he's also the assistant GM. So a couple minute clip here. We'll be right back.
Yeah, it was pretty special. You know, we had a really good year. You know, it's really a testament to the players, and we had some new ownership that came in from 2018-2019 season up into our season currently. We brought in 3 new owners to replace another owner, and just had a lot of success out of the gate. The community really wrapped around it. What people fail to realize is that the ABA has failed probably 3 or 4 different times in Syracuse before the Stallions came along.
Wow.
So we knew that there were some teams that never played a game. There were some teams that played 4 or 5 games and then collapsed. And there were some teams that, it was just a Facebook page or an Instagram page and a logo, and you never heard from them again after, 2 or 3 posts. So we were fortunate that we kind of came out the gate. A big portion of it, obviously, is our social media branding. We just hit 8,000 followers on Facebook the other day. Our Instagram is closing in on 3,000. Our Twitter does well. So, we've built a pretty big audience to spread the message and kind of spread, the 2 things that the TBL was looking for, which is great talent with basketball and also community service. So we try to be heavily involved in the community. We've done some different events, such as we did a suicide prevention walk earlier this year where I want to say 10 or 11 of our 15-man roster was able to attend. It was early Saturday morning, raining, but we walked, close to 5 to 6 miles for suicide prevention. We did an event at a local middle school where one of the teachers that our president, Mike, one of his old coworkers, was diagnosed with ALS, and we raised close to $20,000
that's awesome.
For that. So we really try to get out there and do a handful of different community events to make the Stallions image known that we're here to stay, and we're a fixture, obviously, for year 3.
And welcome back to the roundtable discussion. That was Brian Burns for the Syracuse Stallions, who is the part owner and assistant GM for the Syracuse Stallions, a brand new team for the basketball league, which is the TBL, the greatest basketball on earth, and the only pro league here in the Triangle out of Raleigh, North Carolina. But right now, before we get into the basketball league discussion about the Syracuse Stallions, we're going to head to Brandon White for an update in Charlotte for the truck race.
Hey, Trey. So just a quick recap. Brett Moffitt currently leads the truck race with 48 laps to go. He passed Kyle Busch on a restart, having a couple laps prior. There's been a couple cautions in the past 10 laps or so, but to give you some context about what's going on tonight, there is a $100,000 bounty that's been put on Kyle Busch by Kevin Harvick and Gander RV and Outdoors owner Marcus Lemonis that basically says if a Cup driver can beat Kyle Busch, they will win $100,000. And